In a serene room, the persistent ticking of an old clock filled the air. Nearby, my husband David was completely absorbed in watching TV, paying no attention to me whatsoever. Overwhelmed with frustration from the accumulated problems over the years, I was at my breaking point. David, breaking the silence with a mocking tone, hardly noticed as I declared resolutely, "I'm leaving." He scoffed, insisting I wouldn't last a day without him. His disparaging words, however, only fueled my resolve. I could no longer endure his neglect, nor the intrusive interference of his mother, who had been living with us. It was time for me to reclaim my independence. "I can handle it," I affirmed confidently, rising to my feet, my nerves tingling with anticipation of the unknown, yet empowered by my decision. Just then, David's mother entered the room, her eyes landing on my packed bags. "Leaving already?" she taunted, doubting my ability to manage without their familial entanglements. I brushed off her remark and seized my bags, striding toward the door. David remained seated, his voice trailing after me. "You'll be back. You can't do this on your own." As I stepped outside, a wave of freedom washed over me. The cool evening breeze felt invigorating, lifting my spirits. I had no set destination, but for the first time in many years, there was a spark of hope. For 19 years, I had played the role of the compliant wife to David, feeling more like a convenience than a partner. My son Benjamin was a beacon of joy, yet he alone could not mend the emptiness I felt. The constant criticism and manipulative tactics of David's mother only exacerbated the situation. Finding a modest, peaceful apartment was my salvation. It became my sanctuary, a place free from judgment, where I could reflect and regroup. I ignored the barrage of calls and messages from David and his mother, who oscillated between pleading and threats. I was determined to stand my ground and move forward. My colleagues at the library, where I had been employed for many years, offered their unwavering support. They had witnessed the strain and knew the time had come for me to chart a new path, embracing a future filled with possibilities and self-discovery. Having faced numerous challenges, I was beginning to find my footing again, surrounded by the comforting presence of books and the support of understanding friends at the library. It felt like I was rediscovering who I was, and with each passing day, my hope for a brighter future grew stronger. Amidst adjusting to my newfound independence, a concerned call from my son Benjamin came through. "Mom, are you okay?" he asked, his voice laced with worry. I reassured him with a calmness that had eluded me for years. "Yes, Benjamin, I'm doing better than ever," I responded. However, he then shared troubling news about the situation at home. My departure had not been taken well. David had resorted to drinking, and his mother relentlessly blamed me for the upheaval. Pushing aside any creeping guilt, I reminded myself of the importance of respecting my own decisions. Benjamin hesitated before offering his support, encouraging me to prioritize my happiness. After ending the call, I realized that this was just the beginning of proving myself to David and his mother, who had long underestimated me. They needed to understand I was no longer the obedient woman they perceived me to be. My journey towards self-discovery and independence was just getting underway. In the tranquility of my new, modest home, I found time to reflect on the 26 years I had spent with David. What had begun as a promising relationship had gradually deteriorated over the years. Initially, David's charm and our shared dreams had seemed ideal, but as time passed, he became increasingly self-centered, neglecting our family in the process. The birth of Benjamin did not bring us closer. Instead, it underscored the growing chasm between us. David believed that providing financially was sufficient, leaving the emotional nurturing to me. His mother, Mary, was a constant presence, always quick to criticize my parenting approaches. She accused me of coddling Benjamin, claiming David had never needed such attention. Despite her harsh critiques, I remained focused on raising Benjamin to be a thoughtful and independent young man. a true bright spot in an otherwise tense home environment. As tensions reached a breaking point, I knew a change was necessary, not just for my well-being, but for Benjamin's future as well. When Mary moved in uninvited, claiming loneliness, her presence quickly became overbearing. She criticized everything from my cooking to my clothing, subtly suggesting that David could have chosen a better partner. This new chapter of my life was dedicated to breaking free from years of control and rediscovering myself, a journey I had only just begun. Despite trying to overlook Mary's constant criticisms, what truly shook me was uncovering David's deceit. One day, I found bank statements that showed large sums being withdrawn from our joint account. It turned out this money was squandered on Mary's gambling habits and David's secretive splurges. Any attempt to confront them resulted in heated arguments, with David invariably siding with his mother. "She's my mom, Cheryl. She needs this," he would argue, brushing aside my concerns. The breaking point came when I overheard them scheming to take full control of our finances, effectively leaving me powerless in my own home. It was then I realized I could no longer live under their dominance. The day I decided to leave, I vowed to make them feel the pain they had inflicted upon me. My plan was straightforward yet impactful, to challenge their egos and regain control. I began by legally separating our finances, which caught David off guard. "What are you doing?" he demanded over the phone. "I'm protecting myself, something I should have done a long time ago," I replied calmly but assertively. Mary's reaction was even more volatile. "You ungrateful brat, after everything we've done for you," she screamed upon discovering the changes. However, I remained undeterred. The era of my submission had ended. Now, I was establishing my own rules, marking the beginning of their reckoning. After taking control of my finances, the situation escalated. David and Mary showed their true colors through their fury. Their attempts to intimidate me with angry phone calls were futile. "You think you're smart, Cheryl," David taunted over the phone. But their words no longer had power over me. I was no longer the person they once manipulated. I was now steering my own life, setting the stage for a future where I was in command, not them. "You're nothing without me. You'll come crawling back," David barked with confidence. "Not a chance, David. I won't let you manipulate me anymore," I replied, my resolve unshaken. Mary's threats were even more vicious. "You'll regret this, Cheryl. You've ruined our family." "There was no family to ruin, Mary. It was all a facade," I shot back. Despite their harsh words, I felt liberated. The fear that had once controlled me vanished, replaced by a steadfast determination for justice. It was time they faced the consequences of their actions. I began by reconnecting with old friends and revealing the deceit and manipulation I had endured from David and Mary. My honest revelations spread quickly, marring their once pristine reputations. David, who prided himself on his social image, was mortified. "How could you do this to me?" he demanded, genuinely shocked. "You did it to yourself," I replied calmly. "I'm just shedding light on the truth." Mary, too, faced backlash from the community. "You've made us outcasts," she accused, viewing the situation as a battle. "No, Mary, this isn't a battle. It's about taking responsibility for your actions," I told her firmly. Watching their social standing crumble demonstrated the potent impact of truth. David's supporters began to distance themselves, cautious of his tarnished reputation, while Mary's influence waned as her gambling issues and manipulative behavior came to light. This shift showed me the strength of honesty and the importance of standing up for oneself, no longer overshadowed by fear or suppression. I didn't stop at merely exposing David and Mary's behaviors to our social circle. I knew their vulnerability lay in their financial dealings. With a competent lawyer by my side, I pursued my rightful share of our joint assets. The courtroom became a battleground where Mary's gambling debts and David's financial mismanagement were laid bare for all to see. The legal battles were arduous, but my resolve never wavered. Their fabrications stood no chance against the weight of truth, and eventually, I secured a significant legal victory. When the judge ruled in my favor, the look of defeat on David and Mary's faces was unmistakable. This victory was about more than just financial gain. It was a moral affirmation. "You've destroyed everything, Cheryl," David lamented, his voice filled with defeat. "No, David, you destroyed our family a long time ago. I'm just picking up the pieces," I countered, walking out of the courtroom enveloped in a sense of liberation I hadn't felt in years. This moment marked the beginning of a hopeful future, one unburdened by the past. After the court ruling, I embarked on reconstructing my life with the assets that were rightfully mine, distancing myself from David and Mary's toxic influence. They struggled to grasp the full extent of their downfall, but for me, it was the dawn of a new chapter, one characterized by independence and self-discovery. I was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, freed from the constraints of their manipulation. The breakdown of David and Mary's facades marked only the beginning of my journey to rediscover myself and pursue genuine happiness and freedom. One evening, David called in a desperate attempt to sway my decisions. "You can't just change our lives like this, Cheryl," he pleaded. "I'm just reclaiming what's rightfully mine," I responded firmly. "Maybe you should have considered the consequences before betraying my trust." Mary, on the other hand, took a more underhanded approach. She attempted to sway family members against me by casting herself as the victim. "You're tearing our family apart, Cheryl," she accused. Each accusation from them reaffirmed my decision to stand firm. Their attempts at manipulation no longer held any power over me. I was determined to live my life on my terms, free from their deceit and control. When we accidentally met at the grocery store, I firmly told David, this family was broken long before I left. My tone was steady, showing no hint of the turmoil that once ruled my life. Embracing my newfound freedom, I relished the control I had over my existence. To further distance myself, I changed my phone number and sought solace in volunteering at a local shelter, aiding those who had faced similar adversities. However, my battle for justice was far from over. I learned that Mary planned to challenge the court's decision, driven by her need to fund her gambling addiction. "You won't win, Cheryl. I'll make sure you pay," she threatened through a message relayed by a relative. In response, I fortified my legal defenses, ready to meet any challenge she might mount. The person who once shied away from conflict had now become a steadfast advocate for her rights. Meanwhile, David's situation deteriorated as the strain began to impact his career. His once pristine reputation was now sullied. "You've destroyed everything, Cheryl," he confessed during a rare moment of introspection. "You brought this on yourself, David." "I merely brought the truth to light," I countered. As time progressed, I witnessed the unraveling of their once stable lives. Mary's attempt to overturn the court's decision was unsuccessful, leading her to financial and social destitution. David's professional decline continued. His reputation was irreparably harmed. Yet, observing their downfall didn't bring me joy. Although it was a crucial part of reclaiming my identity, it wasn't a source of satisfaction. My journey was centered on healing and rediscovering myself, far beyond the realm of their punishment. Regaining my independence and self-respect was a significant achievement, yet the scars from years of neglect and emotional abuse were still healing. As I rebuilt my life, my primary focus shifted to finding inner peace and happiness. My transformative journey led me away from the shadows of my past, guiding me toward a lighter, more peaceful future. I grew stronger and more resilient. My journey wasn't about revenge, but about freedom, a celebration of the human spirit's capacity to surmount adversity. Months had passed since the court ruled in my favor, yet the repercussions persisted. David and Mary had become estranged from their social circles, mere shadows of their former selves. Then, unexpectedly, Benjamin came to visit, bringing distressing news. Dad lost his job, and his drinking has gotten worse. Grandma lost everything to gambling. They're selling the house, he disclosed, the weight of his words undeniable. My heart ached for Benjamin. Despite the distance, familial bonds still pulled at my emotions. Did we do the right thing? Benjamin wondered softly. I reassured him, though with a heavy heart, that we had stood up for what was right. They had made their choices. I found no satisfaction in David and Mary's decline. Rather, it underscored the importance of living with integrity and respecting others. In the weeks that followed, rumors circulated about the sale of their house, marking the culmination of their decline. David struggled to secure employment due to his tarnished reputation, and Mary faced isolation as her addiction came to light. One evening, during a walk, I encountered David. He seemed utterly defeated, a different person from the one I had known. There's nothing to say, he muttered, a sentiment that reflected his defeat. This brief encounter was poignant, illustrating how profoundly our lives had changed due to the choices we had made. It was in these moments that I found true happiness, peace, and a sense of self that remained unshakable. My path had not been easy, but it led me to a place of genuine contentment, where the shadows of the past no longer dimmed the light of the present.